Now we're going to learn some advanced tricks. So we learned the basic techniques of animation. Let's create an animation that looks quite good, and we'll explore some advanced techniques. We want to create an animation like this from some temporal data. This is a GPS track that we want to visualize. A few of the tricks you'll learn in this section is how to create this glowing neon effect, where you can see this, there's a glowing effect that is there. The current position is the glowing blue button. And you can see as the animation progresses, it's leaving those breadcrumbs behind. So you can see how much has been completed. So this is where we'll take the accumulate features option and say, as the animation progresses, show the track of where the animation has already been completed. You can also see we are displaying the current timestamp at not as a title, but as at any position. So you can see I have formatted my date and I put it anywhere on the map. So how can we put this date or labels which update as a separate layer in a different position? So we'll do this. We'll also use a base map. You can see there's a map behind which shows you where you are, and we can create an animation like this. If you have collected your own GPS track, please save the file. If you do not have your own GPS track, we have a GPX file in your data package called sample GPS track. You can use that. We'll work on the section 4.3.2. We'll explore different options for loading base maps. When you're working on QGIS projects, rather than starting with a blank canvas and not knowing where you are, you can take some existing base maps that come as tiled base maps and load them as backdrop. Typically, I start all my QGIS project by loading a base map and then overlaying some GIS data on top. We'll be using this plugin called Quick Map Services. So first, let's go ahead and install the plugin. So from your QGIS window, we'll go to Plugins, Manage and Install Plugins. From Plugins menu, select All and search for this plugin called Quick Map Services. All single word, no spaces, and go and find this plugin called Quick Map Services. If you don't have it installed already, you should see an install plugin button. Go ahead and install that. You should see an install plugin. Go ahead and install that. Once you install the plugin, you should see a web menu on QGIS. And under the web menu, you'll have Quick Map Services, and you should see some base maps here. Depending on your configuration, you may not have all of the maps that I have. And you have maybe one or two folders only. So I'll show you how to add all other third-party maps to your Quick Map Services. Once you have installed the plugin, go to Web, Quick Map Services, and Settings. On the Quick Map Services settings, you have the last option, More Services. Switch to that and click this button, Get Contributed Pack. There are many third-party services which provide base maps. Each one has their terms of service on what you can and cannot do with this. This plugin says, please read those terms of service and make sure you are complying with the usage requirements, and they are not liable for if you violate the terms of service. So again, make sure you're using some base map, you are complying with the terms of service. I'll explain some of the ones that you should be aware of. For now, you can just click Get Contributed Pack, which will download all other base map services that is available to you. Once you do that, you should see a lot more folders in your Quick Map Services. The one that I recommend all of you use at least is the OSM one. This is OpenStreetMap. This is a free and open map of the world. No restrictions on usage. So you can use them as you like, commercial, non-commercial. You can export whatever you want to do. You have kind of complete rights to use this data. So this is a good choice as a base map. I typically always have an OSM base map in my QGIS. So try loading this OSM standard and then zooming into any region and just looking at the map. This is kind of the base map that you can use. A georeference base map, you can overlay stuff on top. So we have different options here. You can explore different base maps here. There's a CartoDB options. There's a map here, dark matter, which we want to use. So I'm going to try this one. And you can see this is a minimalist map, which is a dark theme. So if you want to have this neon blinking map animation that we want to do, it makes a nice map for this. You can still see some stuff like water bodies and roads, but it doesn't have all the different places. So it's not very distracting, but you'll be able to use that. There are other maps. So the CartoDB maps are also based on OSM. Again, no license restrictions. The OSM maps are also completely open and free. You have Google and Esri maps. These are commercial map providers. You have the Google satellite imagery available, very popular base map for people to use. Again, read Google's terms of service to see if you can use this in your application without violating terms of service. So please go ahead and load Car2DB dark matter map and keep that as a base map. Next, we want to load the GPS track on top of this. In your data package, we have this file, sample GPS track.gpx file. If you have your own GPX file, again, you can find it from your browser and drag and drop it on into your QGIS canvas. GPX is a format that is used by GPS devices to store the point locations. It has got different layers. You can see you'll be shown a pop-up saying which layers you want. In this GPX file, we have some tracks, which is lines, and some points. So we want to load both of these layers, track points and tracks. So you can hold the Shift key, select both of this, and click Add Layers. And we want to adjust the layer order so that your tracks are on top and your base map is on bottom. You can zoom to this region where you loaded the map. So once you added the map, right click and say zoom to group, and you should see something like this on your QGIS canvas. So you can see I have two things. I have a line layer, which is the whole track, and just points. So I have the individual points. The GPS app that I recorded with this recorded it every few seconds. So you can see it recorded my position every second. So this one is a timestamp saying that this is where I was at this time, next second. So it's recording 1 per second. And I have the time. So I can use this time field to animate my position. And you can see this goes like this, and we'll be able to animate. I want to show the final animation. I want to keep that as a reference to see how we want to do it. So first we'll style this map so that we can animate this effect of kind of glowing dot showing the current position, and then this blue dot showing the past positions. So we'll create this effect. For doing this, we need two layers, one layer with the small blue dot, another with the larger blue dot, which is the current positions. So let's go to QGIS and configure this. So I'm going to turn off my track points layer. I just have my tracks layer first. I'll just make it like a blue track, just a whole track. So we'll open the layer styling panel, and we'll just change the color to be a blue color, and we'll change the width to be just kind of as a base layer for our track. If your track is very big, like it covers a large region, you may want to adjust this so that it's visible. If it's a very small area, again, you can adjust it so it looks good. For the next one, let's select the track points layer. So this one was just simple. We just change the color and the width. Don't want any other change. For the track points layer, turn it on, and we want to go to the simple marker, and we want to change the size to be 1, color to be some other shade of blue. So again, you can have some blue shade, and you can see each of these dots have outline, which is the black color. We don't want any outline, so we can say transparent stroke. So that's the two change we want to make here. So for the track points layer, we'll change the size, change the color to be a shade of blue, and the stroke color will make it transparent. And again, depending on how you collected the track, you can see my track is very dense. I have my position every second, and you can see I have so many points. If I'm trying to animate this, it's going to be very boring animation. That I'm just going to wait and see my progress 1 second at a time. If your track is again very dense, very long, you don't want an animation to be a 4-hour animation. So what we want to do is we want to thin our layer to say, let's not keep all the points, maybe keep 1 point every 5 seconds or 1 point every 10 seconds. So I'll show you a really useful feature in QGIS, which allows you to kind of apply some expression to change your geometry dynamically. This is a really powerful feature. Again, it combines your QGIS expression with your rendering engine to create something on the fly, which will otherwise take you a lot of processing. So I want to thin my layer. I want to say, I don't want all points display. I want only every 10th point display. So from here, I have my symbol layer type as simple marker. I'm going to change it to something called a geometry generator. So go ahead and change this to geometry generator. This is a type of renderer where you can dynamically change what gets rendered. So your source data is a point layer, and you have 1 point every 1 second, and you have this expression in geometry. So now it's just displaying those points. You can now take it and manipulate this geometry and display something else here. So I'm going to change my expression to be something like this. I'm just going to update the expression. But my expression is if the ID At ID is the current ID of the feature. So if the ID of the feature divisible by 10 equal to 0. So this is a modulus operator. So divide this feature by 10. And if the remainder is 0, that means if the ID is divisible by 10, keep the point, otherwise make it null. You can see what happened. If I change it to 2, I have dense point. If I change 20, I have very few points. I have 30, I have much lesser point. So I can use this to say, keep every 10th point, keep every 20th point, keep every 50th point. And again, it's dynamic. I'm not changing the data. My data layer still has all the points. I'm just displaying what gets rendered on the map. Super helpful, where you say, I don't want to change my data source. I just want to display something different compared to that. So again, adjust this based on the track. If your track is maybe an hour, maybe you want to do every 50th point or every 100 points. So you can kind of have a reasonable animation for that. If you're using this default track, every 10th point is a good choice. It gives you enough space point that gives you a structure of the track, but not too many. Okay, so we have our layer. This will be the layer where we'll just have the points accumulate. We want another layer where we'll have this blinking dot effect. So right click this track points and say duplicate layer. We'll have this another layer called track points copy. We want this layer to be on top of the other layer. So I'm going to adjust the layer order. So make sure the track points copy is on the top. This is the layer that will give us this bright, large blue blinking effect. So we want to take this, and in the simple marker, we'll change the radius to be a larger point. We'll make it 3. So this will be larger radius. Maybe change the color to be some neon color. So we duplicated this track points layer. We have created a copy. This is also the geometry generator. So every 10th point is displayed. Simple marker, size 3, make it a neon color. You can see this spot has a glow effect on it. This is called the live layer effect feature in QGIS, where you can apply for every symbol, you can apply some effect like a drop shadow or a glow field to it. So let's apply this on this layer. So on the track points copy layer, scroll down, there's a layer rendering option. It might be collapsed for you. So at the bottom, open the layer rendering option. There is a draw effect box here. So let's turn on the draw effects and click on the star. And here you have different effects. We can do an outer glow. You can see the effect here. So this is a glow effect. You can do drop shadow, inner glow, whatever. So outer glow is what is appropriate here. So again, how to find this one from the track points copy. Once you configure this, scroll down, expand the layer rendering, click draw effect, click the star, click outer glow. Make sure both source and outer glow is selected. And once we animate, you will soon understand why we had to do this duplication of layer. So we have one layer, which is the small points in blue color. We have the larger neon points with the glow effect, which is the top layer. We want to display only the current position from this layer, and we want to display all the points from the bottom layer, and we'll animate them differently. Okay, we're done with the styling. Time to configure our time for this. So take the track points copy, right click, go to properties and go to temporal. We'll do dynamic temporal control, single field, and the field is time. So we have the timestamp for each point, and this will be how we'll interpret time for this layer. So first configure the track points copy, the one with the glow effect, dynamic temporal control, single field, the field is time. Now go to the track points layer. Once you have this one, go to track points, right click, properties, same configuration, but one difference. Click this button, accumulate features over time. This means once the point is displayed, it'll remain on the map, it'll not disappear. So it'll leave those trail of breadcrumbs. And this will give the effect of the glowing effect for the current point, and the bottom layer will just have the accumulate features. So make sure this is configured. Like both of your layers should have the temporal controller enabled. And now we're going to see if the animation worked. So I'm going to open the temporal controller, do the animation, refresh the timestamp, loads the current timestamp. I have data every 10 seconds for me in my current view. So my each step would be 10 seconds, and I can play to see if the animation goes. You can see my animation slowly progressing. If you want to speed up the animation, if this is too slow, you can go to this small settings gear here on the corner. And this says what is the frame rate, and you can make it 10. So just make it go faster. And it shows the frame rate. And again, you have to play around with the things, whatever you want to do. Maybe you can, if you want this blinking effect, do 1 second step and a 10-second frame rate. This will give you this nice blinking effect of your point. So we have our animation. I want to teach you one more trick to put your animation labels anywhere on the map. So far in the previous exercise, we learned we can use the title decoration to add that. But in this case, again, adding a title doesn't make sense. What if I want to add a label in the center of my track and I want to display the time that changes? So there is a alternate way we can place a label at any arbitrary location. So let's learn how to do this. We'll work on section 4.3.4, placing placing labels on animations. The concept is simple. QGIS can place labels on any point layer. So we'll create a new point layer, put the point wherever we want our label to appear, and we'll add an expression as the label. So we just need a place to render an expression. So we say we don't have any point. We'll create a new point layer, add a point, and we'll add the label as an expression. So let's do this. From layer, we'll create a new point layer. So go to layer, create layer, new geopackage layer. The first step is database. This is the location you want to save your geopackage. You can click these 3 dots, go to anywhere on your computer, put it into the data package. We just name the geopackage as label geopackage. Okay. So the geopackage name is label.gpackage, table name is label, that's fine. Geometry type point, and that's it. We don't want any attributes. We just want a point. So go to layer, new geopackage layer, and name your geopackage as label.geopackage. Click OK. Once you're done, you should see a new label points here. Move it on top of the stack so that it's always on top. Right now, this layer is empty. We don't have any points. Let's just put one point inside. On your toolbar, find this pencil icon, which says toggle editing. Once you enable editing, you should see this button here, add point feature. And you should click this and put the point anywhere on the map, wherever you like your label to be. We can move this later if you want to. Right now, we can just say, I want my label to appear at the top right corner here. If you want to label at the center, that's also fine. Just going to put my point here. We'll say, what's the FID? Auto-generate is fine. Click OK. And you should see a new point appear on your map. The point is irrelevant. We're just going to use the point as an anchor to place our label. And then you can click the pencil icon again. It'll say, do you want to save the changes? You can say save, and you're done. Let's add the label to it. So we open our layer styling panel. In the layer styling panel, there's a second tab below the paintbrush with ABC. So right now there's no label that has been attached to this. We'll just say single label. Right now I just want to put static text like label, and I'll just change my point size to be whatever. So I can now say, just configuring my fonts of how my label will work. So we'll change the font size, background color. And now instead of this label, we're going to enter an expression. This is the expression that will show the time of the current frame in my animation. There are a few things going on with this expression. So let me go here. We have our thing, format date of map start time. And we'll format it, since this is just timestamp, we can display it like this, 20 June 2023. Right? So we formatted DD MMM Y by Y. But again, we have date plus time, right? So we can say I want to be displayed as hours, minutes, seconds. So it'll display the full timestamp, date, and hour, minute, and seconds. And I'm going to say, so this is the timestamp that is displayed. When we put the label like this, I've added this vertical line to it. This line is useful because I want to have this label split across two lines. If you see the output path that we want to create, I want it to be like this. I want the date at the top, which is static, and my timestamp to update dynamically. So how do I break my label into two parts? Well, a useful trick is just have some character which is in your label. So here I'm using this vertical pipe. In the second tab here, it's a formatting tab. At the bottom, it says wrap on character. I put the pipe and it's break. Wrap on character means wherever it encounters characters, it'll turn this into a new line. So I have this formatting, which I have now changed this and made it as a wrap on character here. Okay, so for now, this one looks okay to me. I'm going to keep it as it is. If I play my animation, you can see it's updating my label. Sometimes there will be a delay in updating this because QGIS says this is not a time layer. It's just a static label. Why should I update that? So sometimes if you do not see this date timestamp updating, it's a useful thing to go to the properties. And in the temporal controller, we can say redraw layer only. That means this is a temporal layer. You have to update this as you're animating. Just redraw it. So it'll update the layer and it'll just update the timestamp on it. So now we have this animation. If I play this, you can see now my timestamp will keep updating as the label keeps going. One more problem with this particular track says my timestamp is 5 a.m. Well, I do sometimes wake up that early, but not always. So this one is saying I went bike riding at 6 a.m., which is not true. The reason it's saying it's at 6 a.m. is because all your GPS data always comes in UTC time. It's a Greenwich time. So GPS always uses that. So if you collect your GPS track, always your time will be at the central meridian. So you need to make sure the label that you're displaying is not in UTC, it's in your current time zone. So I'm going to change the label to be appropriate for your time zone. Here we can say my timestamp, there is a function called toInterval. So you add something to it. So we can say I have my timestamp. I want to add something to it. And this toInterval function takes a text and converts it to a timestamp. So India is 5.5 hours ahead of Greenwich time. So whatever is your time zone, you can subtract or add the timestamp to it. So this one says map start time plus 5 hours 30 minutes. So this toInterval function will take a text and turn it into a timestamp that you can add. So whatever is this, you can add this. If you are in a different time zone, look up what's your time zone. If it's UTC -8, you just do UTC -8 hours. And now your final expression will show the correct time. This was much later in the day, and you can see it's now 11 a.m. and it shows the correct time. I can do a right alignment and adjust this. See, after doing this, your animation displays and you are able to see those timestamp update dynamically. Show how you can move the label once you're done. So this is just a point. We need a tool that can move points and your label will move. That tool is available under the Advanced Digitizing toolbar. So I'm going to go to View, Toolbars, Advanced Digitizing toolbar. I'm going to enable this tool, go to my label layer, Edit, and there is this button here, Move Features. So I'm going to select this, click on my point, and move it here. So to click on the point to select it, click on the next place where you want to place it. Once you're happy, save the point and check your animation. Once you're happy with the position, you can hide this point. We don't need this anchor point available anymore. So you can go to the symbology tab and say the size of this point is 0. And the point will just fall in. And there you have your final animation. with the label and your symbology showing this blinking animation of your track. If you're happy with it, you can export the animation. Let's export this. I'm going to create a new folder called GPS track, and we can keep the step. I'm going to do, you can do 1 second frame. I'm going to do 10-second frame just for it to go faster, but it'll have 10.10. One step is 10 frames. So depending, you can change that if you want to. And you'll just go and render those frames out. And my export finish, let's take a look at what we get. And as usual, you get 1 frame per 1 image per frame. And you can take this into Photoshop or GIMP or EasyGIF and create the animation that we want.